So a couple of times per year that our internal Lancaster leadership team trains each other on new topics. Today, I'm so lucky to have Jeff Kennedy training me on overcoming your leadership kryptonite. And so it's kind of like a coaching session. So we do it for multiple reasons. He's helping me to grow, but also he's helping us to grow our content to see what's helpful to use with our clients. But it's also helpful for us to do the work instead of just pontificate about the work. So with that, here we go. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thank you. I'm really excited, Julie. Good morning, first off.
Good morning.
Hope you're well. I know you are because you're
Yes,
always
you
fine, right?
too.
And that's actually part of how we got here today. Today's teaching is going to be overcoming our leadership kryptonite, keeping our superpowers from pushing people away. And by the end of the session, we should be able to identify our top leadership superpowers, recognize situations when those strengths can become overplayed and counterproductive, and then apply some strategies to adapt our style based on the needs, emotions, and boundaries of others. And then hopefully, when all of that is said and done, Julie, we can use some real-time self-awareness techniques to balance authenticity with relational sensitivity.
Hey,
And
what did you
uh,
say? With their boundaries, emotions, and something
yes,
else.
apply strategies to adapt our style based on the needs, emotions, and boundaries of
Needs,
others.
emotions, and boundaries. I love it. Yep.
Yeah. And then use some real-time self-awareness techniques to balance authenticity with relational sensitivity.
Great.
So this I didn't arrive at this accidentally. It's been through years of trial. I'm not even going to say trial and error. I'm just going to say trial and having that mindset of like, well, I don't really care what anyone thinks because I really don't. But then realizing how counterproductive that is because we really not only should care, we have to care because how other people think is largely based on how we're affecting them. And if we don't consider how we're affecting them, then we're not able to impact them also. And so this comes, I happen to be one of those hyper energetic people. It's all I can do to stay in bed because I can't wait to wake up in the morning.
I love it.
So as you know, I've shared with you before, I have my alarm set at a certain time, but my challenge every day is to beat my alarm clock because I don't like being yelled at, particularly by a phone. And so that's my first victory of every day when and I don't gradually wake up. I'm like, bing, I'm awake, I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Um, that's not always the best thing, especially with a spouse, but that's besides the point. Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes other people need a minute and I don't. And so I worked with someone in my former life, in my retail management life. I had a particular district manager that was pretty much always grumpy. And I'm just going to say it honestly like that. Like it didn't really matter what time of day she was grumpy. But oftentimes she would show up, Julie, at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I've already been up for 3 hours. Like I am in full on ready to go mode. I am top of the morning to you. How you doing? Good morning. And I remember a particular morning that she walked in and I met her at the door. Hey, good morning, so and so. How are you? And she's like, stop. Don't. I'm like, what do you mean? Like I am
She had
so
had
like
it. She had had enough.
she had had enough and she just got there. Okay. I realized in that moment that hyper energy was too much for some people. And kind of now I can bring you into it. You and I have shared some space on the radio and in studio and whatnot. You know how much I love that process. Well, a person who worked in studio with me, who was told me when she first started, like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm like, well, why? I'm so fun. She's like, you're just too
I'm
much.
so
Okay.
sorry.
You're just too much.
Yep.
And so knowing, and then one day you show up, okay, in the studio and we do our thing. It was great. We had great interaction on the air. And then you leave and it's like, bye, Julie. Wasn't that great? And
She's
my
like,
producer
you
at the time
both are
says,
too much.
she said, y'all are too much.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it. And so
Yeah.
it got me thinking about how sometimes our superpower, the very thing that drives us and makes us go, can oftentimes be repellent when turned up too loud for other people. And so it can become our kryptonite. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. So,
Beautiful. And I think of that as we coach people, a common concept that I come back to is all of us have incredible strengths, but when our strength is overutilized, it's a liability. So maybe 80% of the time it's so helpful and so good, but when we use it that 20% of the time, it's a dumpster fire.
well, absolutely. And we have those gifts for a reason. They're for our good, and they will get us through a lot of obstacles in life. Believe me, I can share with you, being full of joy and being full of energy has served me better than it's hurt me. But there have been times that relationships have been damaged or situations didn't turn out as well as they could because of that. And so I wanted to just kind of open, Julie, if you don't mind. If
Uh-huh.
you can, we have a little fun?
Bring it. Bring it. I'm so excited.
Bring it in here. All right. If you were a superhero, what would your leadership superpower be? What would be your leadership superpower?
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't say which superhero would I be because I do not relate at all to. I'm like, I don't even know what are the choices. Well, okay, so I've got your worksheet in front of me, right? And are we
Okay.
doing number one, the superpower map?
Actually, yes, we can work from, yes, let's work from this.
Or it's
Okay.
essential, but it's the same, right? Or three leadership superpowers. So of course I've been sitting here thinking about that, especially through the lens of what is sometimes too much. And you may not have the same relationship with the concept of too much, but I know a lot of women can relate to this. Like we have been told for whatever reason in certain ways that we're too much. And so it's this interesting balance of like, when are people being too critical and we're going to still show up in our too muchness and I'm not going to hide my light under a bushel versus when do I need to recognize that I'm not perhaps reading the room? So,
Mhm.
my three, I think, are the first one. I mean, based on your story, how can I not say energy and curiosity? Oh, and your next two questions, when it works well and when it goes too far, is exactly what I was just about to talk about, but I can hold off on that. The second one is probably actioning or solutioning, meaning turning vision into action, which uh, anyway, I've got good examples of the good and the bad with that. And the third, I think, is agility. Oh, I could talk so much about that in terms of I really try and read the room and the person that I'm with and I match it.
Okay. So agility is a very important skill to have, especially if we're high volume people. So one of the things that we want to recognize, though, is every strength has a shadow side.
Yes.
And our kryptonite is usually our superpower in overdrive. So
Hmm.
the fact that it's a superpower means that we probably don't have to turn it up to maximum
Yep.
in order to have a great impact, right?
That's
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So our goal is to learn to spot when to dial it back for greater trust and connection. So
Hmm.
that's kind of that's kind of where we want to go today. So if you don't mind, Julie, let's take a look at this. Let's look at, I kind of called this the strength spectrum. So an example, high energy that we were talking about. When is high energy inspiring and when is high energy exhausting? I gave you the
To
example of that.
others or to me?
What's that?
To others or to me?
To others.
To others. That's what I thought.
Okay. Yeah, to
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
So that example that I gave, this district manager walking in the morning, it was first thing in the morning. She, but I exhausted her with an over exuberant, "Hey, good morning." Okay.
Oh, for sure,
So
for
so
sure.
when is that? When is our high energy? And you're a
Yes.
high energy person. Matter of
Yes.
fact, I love that about
What do
you.
you
Okay.
mean? Oh, just kidding. Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome.
So
So if
so
I go through
example,
all of those and think about when it works well and when it's too much, when it's
yeah.
I love that the goal is for greater trust and connection. That's so right. That's what it is about. Okay. The agility one, when it works well, I can confidently say it helps me to be successful in life because looking at my calendar yesterday, I had 8 different engagements from one-on-one meetings to group coaching sessions to debriefs to, and within 3 seconds, I'm paying attention to the energy of the person and I'm going from like, oh my gosh, isn't this so fun to, oh yeah, how's your day? Because I can feel them and I hope my I don't even want to say my goal because I it does just kind of come naturally, but maybe I've honed it over the years, but I don't know. So what my hope is that people feel like I get them because I'm matching them and I'm not being too much or whatever. But when it goes too far, for sure is this concept of wait, who am I? Because I'm chameleoning is a negative word these days, but um, when do I just get to be me and show up how I want to and not have to adapt? And also, I heard Glennon Doyle recently talking about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Or maybe it was her sister, Amanda Doyle. Anyway, on their podcast, We Can Do Hard Things, they were talking about they are so good at paying attention to all of the cues and
Mm.
responding to all of the cues that it can be that like uh, always responsive instead of proactive like oh I should adapt this way because of this and again that's super helpful when getting visual feedback working with groups. I'm like they're bored, shift gears. They need a break, shift gears. They need right. But when it goes too far is me being like hey, when am I allowed to just be who I want, and quite frankly who is that anyway?
I want to dig into that a little bit because obviously this has happened over a period of years, and you've continued to develop your leadership style while allowing the full measure of your personality, the who you are, to
Mhm,
come out. When
mhm,
that happens, and you have been so mindful
mhm.
of agility and adaptability to where it feels like somehow you're no longer identifying, or they're no longer identifying with the real Julie. What's your what's your trigger point? Like what's your breaking point to where you say, okay,
Okay.
I need to dial that back in because I'm not allowing myself to be authentic now.
Yeah, well, this part is so interesting because the authenticity part is the part, and that also ties into the energy and curiosity one. But what I've learned is that I've taken lots of my personality assessments. The Enneagram, I'm a 3, and it'll say that like our authentic self is this adaptable one. And I'm like, thank you, because none of what I'm doing feels inauthentic. However, so two thoughts come to mind. One that I'm proud of and one that is terrible. One is that like when I give people Myers-Briggs assessments, one of the things I do when I have them practice it and I'll be like, now try and guess mine. I have noticed very frequently they'll say the same personality style that they are. And I'm like, how interesting. I could not be more different.
Oh yeah.
You think I'm this? No, I'm 100% different. But I love that your experience of me feels like what feels good to you. I just had this other one the other day is that for better or worse, I'm feeding off of the energy of the person in the room. So if someone's energy, it's a special brand of high energy. If it feels like they're not reading things, they're not giving space, they're just foot on the gas pedal the whole time. When I'm done with that conversation, I feel like I've been run over by a truck because I went there with him like, we're so frenetic, and then it's done, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted because I forget in the moment that I could like, oh wait, I don't have to take on all that energy. I could be mellow over here. So I don't know if that
Yeah,
answers your question, but those are the two things that came to mind.
it does. And that's something that I've learned as well, that A, to be able to dial it back, but also kind of on the other end of the spectrum, not having to take on low energy or melancholy or whatnot. I don't have to own that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's what happens to me too. If I'm with a apathetic people, I turn into this like I don't care about anything in life, and then I'm like, wake up! What happened? Hello.
Right, right. Totally not you, right? Absolutely.
Yes.
So, and you mentioned in there, so I'm a naturally curious person. So I love the process of learning about people, what makes them tick. But when does curiosity switch from being engaging to being intrusive?
Yeah, interrogator.
Huh?
Being when we come across as the interrogator, like, can't you
Yeah.
just leave me alone? And we don't have to solve the world's problems. Like, can't we just like be mellow? Yeah, so that second one, the energy one, I know that it works well and that I can bring it, and I have to bring it a lot of the time. And I also really believe in what Tony Robbins says about if you are leading in the group, you as the leader of the group, the positional leader, if you or I are in front of a group, we set the energy tone and people will follow. And so I'm like, I gotta bring it. I can override any internal system for better or worse, like if I'm feeling terrible or whatever. I've talked to people, and after I got off the phone, like a week later, I'm like, did you know when we were talking, I had COVID? And they're like, I didn't know at all. I was like, yeah, because I can just go there. It's not fake. I'm really wanting to do the energy, but as soon as we get off, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So that's helpful then when it goes too far is, oh, for sure. When I'm, well, this is an interesting in tandem with the agility one because it's almost the opposite of the agility one when my energy is overbearing. And so therefore, I have gotten this feedback before for which I'm grateful that people are comfortable to say it comes across as inauthentic because people are like, no human can be that energetic, that enthusiastic, that much of a Mexican jumping bean, whatever. And that's not
Mhm.
what I want. I don't want people to think I'm being fake. But even more than that, I want them to feel like I'm meeting them where they are.
Agreed. And the challenge is because you know that if they're around you long enough, they'll recognize that it's just who you are.
Uh-huh.
But it isn't necessarily how most people are. And so it may feel to them fake. And I've had that the two like, oh, when I first met you, there's no way that I could believe that you could be that positive all the time. Well, now that you know me, you know that I'm that positive all the time. So
Yeah.
it's not something that I'm ramping up for a moment. And so
Yeah.
I think that that's important. I had one more example that I wanted to talk through with you though, and
Right.
it's focus and intensity because you talk
Intensity.
you're
Maybe that's the word instead, the intensity. Intense.
yeah. Well, and you're an action person. You are a get stuff done person. Okay, you are a
Mhm.
focused person. So when is that decisive or
Oh,
is it or intimidating?
no, no, I could add, when is it just being a full-blown jerk? That one
Well,
plays out with my
yeah.
family. That I'm like, oh, that's when we're an hour before walking out the door for vacation. That's when it's an hour before everybody's coming over for the party. I can have I already know this and my family knows this, so I try and be hyper aware of it. Like, beware. like, no need to go there, no need to go there. But like, what? Yeah, it
Is
turns into
is
like,
it that
yeah,
is it that everything has to be kind of perfect? Because
probably.
yeah, okay.
Maybe perfect or maybe done my way, even though I don't see it like that in the moment because I'm just like, there's only one way. The kitchen needs to be clean before we leave, and why am I having to do it? There's a little bit of that, like, also the like,
Yeah.
nobody's helping me. It goes to
No
that
one's
maybe.
helping me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
it
so
could
I
go,
have a question.
yeah, please.
I have a question. So is it that no one is helping you or that no one can meet your standard and
Probably.
so they wilt under that pressure?
Yeah, it's probably I'm doing that. I'm doing oh, I've done a lot of work on this, so it's the examples in my mind are not as present, but I mean, over the years I've done this. I'm not setting up a very collaborative environment. I'm kind of dictatory, and so why would people want to help? It's kind of like that. It's like shooting myself in the foot. Shooting myself in the foot? Is that the expression? Shooting?
Yes.
I shoot. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Okay. All right. So the fact that you're organized, the fact that you're intense, the fact that you're focused, you like to have things done a certain way, and your way is the right way. Those are not bad qualities, right? And yet, no, they're not. And yet, at the same time, if it leaves you feeling like I'm isolated, they should be helping me, but they're not, and they're not helping because it's like, well, psh, it ain't going to be good enough anyway, and I can go ahead and do something else rather than deal with the disappointment or whatever it is, however it manifests.
Hmm.
Yeah, it could cause me. So that very strength comes our kryptonite. That's how we got here. That's how we got
Yeah.
here on this stuff, the topic.
Yeah.
So we all have these things. People interpret. Tell me if this works for you, because I put this in the notes this way.
Yeah.
People interpret your behavior through their needs, mood, and context.
Mm.
People interpret your behavior through their needs, mood, and context. And so overplaying a strength often comes from good intentions, but results in unintended consequences.
People interpret your behavior through their needs and
Needs, mood, and context.
yeah, for sure.
So in Kaplan and Kaiser's book, it's called Fear Your Strengths. They say once you've discovered your strengths, you need to discover something else. Your strengths can work against you. So once you've discovered your strengths, discover something else that your strengths can work against you. And that's a reminder that strengths require calibration, not just amplification.
Calibration, not just amplification. These are good
Yes.
bumper stickers.
Another quote, they said, most leaders they found are lopsided. I thought this was really interesting. They favor certain qualities to the exclusion of others without realizing it. And the trick is to establish balance. So what this does is it illustrates the need to temper our overused strengths.
Yes, so good. I'm looking at, as you mentioned that book, I'm looking at, there's like a whole genre of oh, with strengths as the topic, right? There's the whole, oh, Clifton strengths now. Discover your strengths. Marcus Buckingham, go put your strengths to work. Also from Gallup, living your strengths. But there's titles the edgiest, right? Fear your strengths. It's like, yeah, love it.
Yeah, there's a ton. I meant there's a ton of resources. I was grateful to be able to find them. So what when you list your top three superpowers and you wrote what it looks like when it works and when it goes too far. So now I want to discuss some real world kryptonite triggers. When do
Mm.
people seem to pull back? And you shared that with us. Shut down or avoid engagement. What was the intended outcome and what was the actual impact? To kind of go back to the story I started with, I began to recognize with Naomi how to more effectively have that initial engagement. And we became, great partners in process and in getting some objectives done. But I did stop meeting her at the door with my hyper energy. I still had energy. And I even was bold enough to say, like, listen, you know, before you enter the building, let's notch down your grumpiness. Okay. And she'd laugh. She's like, am I that bad? I'm like, well, I'm not going to allow you to be that bad today. Okay. Let's meet each other somewhere in the middle. I
Yeah.
won't be over the top if you don't drag the whole building down because it's not their fault that you're miserable. And that honesty started to then become the baseline that we could have. Like she was honest enough to say, listen, don't. It's too much. I had to be honest enough to say, well, you know what? We're having a good day here.
Yeah.
Store looks great. And you're going to start nitpicking things that aren't even important because you're miserable. So
Mhm.
let me get you a cup of coffee. let's um let's take a slow walk down the really great aisles before we start digging into some of the problem areas. And that worked. And so again, it was being able to not allow either one of our energy to drag the other into a place that was uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So, you know, I had some examples like hyper positivity during someone's bad news or over
What are some of
inquisitiveness.
yours?
Yes, yes, hyper positivity during someone's bad news, over inquisitiveness with a private team member, or
Uh,
laser focus that
uh-huh.
steamrolls quieter voices. And I just to share with you on that story, I'm that person that walks into a situation. It's like, well, somebody has to be in charge. It might as well be me.
Mhm.
And that's not always the best approach also because it disregards the people who are in the room and have been in the room, who've been in the trenches. I believe that with a certain amount of information, we can fix this. We can fix this situation. And and a lot of those I was hired to go in and fix those situations. But to disregard those that have been in the trenches, whether they're succeeding or failing, was also not always the best use of that strength. So that laser focus, all right, here's my 8-point solution to fixing everything that's wrong with this place. Well,
I can relate. Uh-huh.
I was thinking you probably could. Okay.
And that's a
Had a
kind
feeling
way to say it instead of being like, this is you, Julie.
I had a feeling that we were probably operating in that same current.
Yeah.
Not always the best, because again, it steamrolls quieter voices, but it also disregards those that have been bleeding in those trenches. And
Mhm. Mhm.
it's not always the best thing. So pause and scan, just a mini tool, pause and scan before leaning into a strength, maybe pause for 3 to 5 seconds. And then you mentioned this earlier, and I love the way you said it. I put it in the notes: scan for emotional cues, tone, body language, and pace. And your superpower of agility, you're obviously doing that. And I want to go back. Is that like an innate skill, or has that been more of a learned skill, or is it kind of both?
It's interesting because it is that I'm like thinking about, they talk about what's the term, adult children of alcoholics or something like that. Um, I'm not one. I'm not an adult children of alcoholics, but that is a quality. Like, um, and well, just to add in, so just as we're talking, I was on Chat GPT. I'm like, what's another term for? I was like, I need to understand this, or I need really good words for what I'm actually talking about for this agility. And then I also put it as like energy empath. And one of the thing, and then it started listing all these really positive things, like you're an adaptive connector, a dynamic harmonizer, a vibe reader, an emotional dynamo. I was like, no, no, no. Oh, and then I changed it to like, when is it a weakness? Right?
Okay.
And what it said, and this is perfect. This is exactly so one, over adapting, which is what I was just talking about, but this is the one that I didn't have words yet for. It's the over reading situations. That hits the
That's good.
nail on the head. So I don't know that if I've always been an over reader of situations. I think since I've been doing this particular work for the last 13 years, I'm like, that is a superpower that is necessary. I need to be paying attention to 13 things in this moment and figuring out how to strategize around that. But I can even give examples from this week when overreading a situation has been a weakness.
Hmm. Okay. So again, we kind of look for those triggers to be able to dial it back in the moment, because I think we're all super sharp retrospectively, right? you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm. Super
we don't
short
always get to go
perspective.
back and, fix
Yeah.
stuff. So Marshall Goldsmith, it's called What Got You, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, What
Oh
Got You Here
yeah.
Won't Get You There.
Yeah.
Okay. Said we spend a lot of time teaching leaders what to do. We don't spend enough time teaching leaders what to stop. Half the leaders I have met don't need to learn what to do. They need to learn what to stop. And that kind of hammers home the importance of dialing back, not just doing more. And I think it's perfect for reinforcing self-awareness and restraint. So um
I'm curious,
this
Jeff,
yes.
did you read both of these books or did you like Blinkist them or like give me the synopsis and then here are important tidbits?
I didn't read either of the books all the way through, but I was familiar with them. So I kind of like, here's the concept. How can you help me with the frame of this concept? So
Uh,
does that answer your question? Yeah.
Meaning like into ChatGPT or something.
Yeah, or yeah, just a regular search like I need I
Ah,
need some quotes from these from
oh,
this
gotcha.
book.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Got it.
literally I put it in like what got you here won't get you there. I there's a quote in there that probably would be great for this session. Bring
Yeah,
it. Okay.
got it.
And
Oh,
that's
I've
yours.
so done that when I'm like, just like with it, I'm like, oh, is it Glennon Doyle or Amanda Doyle? And I think they said something like this. It's amazing how you can search up that stuff. So
Yeah, it
great.
saves us a ton of time. You
Yeah,
know, I love it. But then you also and we know this with Chat GPT, you just have to go back and check it for accuracy because
for sure.
sometimes it'll give you information and it's not quite right, and then there's someone in the room who um,
Who
knows
knows?
the exact
And
details,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah. I had this quote that was all over the internet that stories are 22 times more sticky than facts. And I had it as like the opening line of the book. And I was like, let me just dig for a second. Ends up, nobody ever really said that. And I was like, I almost had like it's everywhere. And then everybody repeats the wrong stuff. And then it seems like it's quite, I'm like, yeah, but who initially said it? Who did the research? No, they're like, no research has actually been done to find. I was like, anyway, just
Yeah,
makes me think about
yeah,
that.
yeah. I love those quotes that are overused in a certain context to where you believe like, wow, that must be there. There's a couple of them, not to go there, but you know that saying that God helps those who help themselves.
Uh-huh.
There's people who think like that's not in the Bible, like that's not scripture. Benjamin Franklin said that, not
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
you know. So that's a great example, right? So
Yeah.
if yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So um I think on the worksheet, identify real or potential situations where your superpower could be misinterpreted or overplayed. Then note the possible negative impacts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a scenario? What
Right.
superpower was in play and the potential negative impact?
For sure. So maybe the one I have under wraps or like focused in mostly the good way is the action solutioning, turning vision into action. Because you and I, as coaches, we know that it is about it's not trying to fix them, it's not trying to tell them what to do. So I self-regulate that one a lot. But the
Mhm.
one that is really coming top of mind right now, it's the perfect example. The overreading a situation slash agility. Um, I really subscribe to and talk a lot in trainings about the whole concept of we are meaning making machines. But what I'm recognizing more and more is I'm maybe the leader of that club because we have to, assumptions get a bad rap, but they shouldn't. Just only 5% of the time or something they should. Like, right? If I'm going to cross the street right now, I'm assuming, but the speed of that car that I can make it across. Assumptions are often good. So I do realize when reading the room, if someone's sitting here like this, I'm assuming that means they're bored and I should switch gears. But I can't always totally know. So I got
Hmm.
together with a ladies group last night and uh the group texting with that group is not like what I'm used to. It's pretty, I don't want to say dismissive, it's pretty non-responsive. And I really like to be responded to. So when I put things into that group chat and no one even hearts it, I feel insulted. I feel like, what? They don't like me? What? They can't even give me any energy? What? Like, and then I start to feel insecure, like I don't feel secure and like safe and loved in that group. I even put a video in there one time that it was whenever I'm vulnerable and I'm like, here's a thing that I did. No one responded to it. And I thought after a week, I was like, ha, how rude. And so I erased it. I was like, fine, you can't even be loving. So you can hear all the story that I'm making up. Then we got together last night. I was like, this is the most lovely group of humans. I'm clearly loved here. Maybe actually what's actually going on is these people are busy, or how lovely this is not a group that is married to their phones. And so that's when, right, I'm overreading, like, what must this mean? Oh, it probably, because there's a good chance it could mean some of that, but there's also a good chance it could mean a lot of other things. What do you think about that example?
I think that's a great example. And the something in your email to Drew yesterday, like as I was reading down, like the non-response doesn't necessarily mean that. And so, because her response was, "Wow, this went to spam. I never saw it." I
Yeah,
tend to be that way. Also, like, how dare you? You didn't even respond. And then they come back, it's like, respond to what?
right.
Okay, well, that's a really cute excuse. What, of course, what would you say, right? But the
Oh,
rea but well, yeah, but it comes back to one of the things that we do in this space is assume positive intent.
mm-hmm.
And even if to the power of assumption, even if our assumption in that regard is wrong, is inaccurate,
Yeah.
it's still a healthier landing strip than than the insecurity, than all the other things, because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
firm believer that if our insecurities are playing into something that's real that we need to be cautious about, then that knowledge will also manifest at the time. But for the most part, with all of our insecurities, Julie, whatever they are, they will always find the information that they need to justify its existence. So,
So good. I love that I took notice about note about that. That like that piece, just to notice insecurities at play,
mhm,
that can like expose the lie, right? We're really good at like our anxiety or whatever can lie to us, right? Makes us think for sure something is true or truth.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right. So, um, what that's the question I want to ask. What felt natural in that scenario? And once you made the
That's a
adjustment,
dangerous question.
I know it is.
Natural felt to go to insecure and be sure that they they didn't like me.
Okay, that's not healthy. Okay.
Right. I mean, so natural. I bet we could define this particular brand of natural that you mean.
Yeah.
Like what felt good was to be like, oh, to be willing to change what I thought
Mhm.
was true instead of holding on to some narrative. Because right, we can do confirmation bias, or I could probably hold on to that narrative. Probably could have found any small little identifying things. Oh, see, right?
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah. So kind of moving on then, probably the group had no idea that you felt that way.
right.
But let's let's imagine that they did. Let's play that scenario out,
Yeah.
that you responded in some way that would also trigger a response from them. How did the other person feel by what you projected in that moment?
Mhm.
How did that make them feel? And I think this is important because I used to say to people sometimes, like, you can hide a lot of stuff, but you can't hide your face. Okay. Like
Yeah.
your face is telling a story right now.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
it's
Right.
not a that it's not a good story. And I'm going to respond to what that face is. Now, those people who become really good poker players who can just squash it like you'll never really know.
Yeah,
I can be that person. Like if I genuinely don't like a person, like they would never like if I really don't like you, I dislike you so much you would never even know that I
I
dislike
hate
you.
hearing that. I hate hearing that. You better like me.
I do. I love you. Okay. So but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but for the most part, when we're aggravated, when we're impatient, when we're even though we might not be saying it, there's something in our face, something in our countenance that indicates that. And that's a trigger for other people.
yeah,
So the question on my notes here is what did the other person feel if
yeah.
they were able
And,
to
and
see that?
if they would know all of that, they would they would probably feel like judged, which was not at all my intention, but I'm clearly seeing them in a negative light and thinking that they have these qualities of being dismissive and rude, which really it goes back to it that it really wasn't about them. It was about me and my own insecurities, and it goes back to people interpret. I am interpreting their behavior through my needs, my mood, and my context, and so um, yeah, they would probably
That's
be like,
good.
why are you making up that crazy story? And why would you think that I would be a person who would do that?"
Yeah. So so reading the room, what's the energy, emotion, urgency? Matching, then lead. You talked about that. Start at their pace, then bring yours in.
Mhm,
Ask permission. Would you like me to share an idea? Which you do that great, by the way.
mhm.
Self-regulating, choosing to go 70% strength to give space for others. That was a really helpful reminder. Sometimes having like a percentage helps me to be able to identify and he came up with 70%. Like, what if I was only 70% intensity? Like I know that I'm really at 100% intensity, but I'm only turning the faucet on 70% high. Okay.
Yes,
Would that leave room for other people to maybe grow and match that intensity
yes,
to come up to fill that additional space? Because if I'm sucking all the air out of the room, then why would anyone ever come out of their shell? So that self-regulation.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that's all good.
Okay.
Those are all great.
All
I'm just
right. Tools for
I'm
managing
just seeing
kryptonite.
on my
Can we
list that it's that one thing that I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, a couple of things with mine, part of the challenges. With that one specifically, the overreading the situation, your adaptability becomes hyper reactivity, changing course too often, which can confuse your team or disrupt long-term plans. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. I can see this energy depletion. You absorb too much of the other's energy and you can be drained.
hmm.
Um, Over adapting, you lose your own direction or a sense of yourself. I mean, all of this. Who knew ChatGPT could be so smart when we fed it in good stuff?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And this would be something that I would even ask a group. So here you're this high energy person, but you are agile, you're all the things that we've been talking about. And on the other side is the energy sucker. Okay. They are an energy thief.
Yeah.
And my tendency is when I recognize that there's an energy sucker, I turn the faucet on full blast because I am just not and I tend to not care that I am now feeding you through a fire hose, deal with it. And again, that's not always the effective strategy because, but I'm so intent in making sure that they're not going to drag me into their darkness. Um, Absolutely not always the best move, certainly as a leader. You know,
Uh-huh.
it couldn't possibly be the best move as a pastor. And
Oops.
so I
That's
kind
cute.
of, right? Okay.
Cute. Yeah, 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 sure.
So I kind of kicked that back into Julie's space and Julie's world. When when you're hired, you're hired for your ability to, and I'm going to say this maximum, your ability to impose your will on that circumstance or
Quite
environment.
interesting. Uh-huh. Okay.
That's why they brought you there. Okay.
Yeah.
We have this situation. Julie Lancaster can impose her will. And from that, we're going to learn something. We're going to be able to extract something that's going to get us on the path to better and make
That's
us better.
so interesting, Lee. Yeah, got you. Yep.
Okay. So going back to all the things that we've been talking about. So, reading the room, making sure that over adaptability, over agility doesn't cause you to turn down the very thing that they brought you there for, while at the same time, and this is the balancing act, right? And this is where we're here, because everything that we do well is why people pay the money for it.
Mhm.
And yet I've been in rooms since I've been working for Lancaster to where someone just didn't get it. And that always breaks my heart, because
Mm.
I want everybody to get it. I want everyone to walk out of there with something that is going to help them. And
Mhm.
you feel it. I know you do. You feel it when somebody shuts down and they're done.
Yeah. Right, right.
Got to overcome that, right?
Yeah.
Strategies to overcome that. So I put it here in the notes, and just trigger awareness. Notice, in this case, your excitement or urgency spike, because this often precedes overuse. So the excitement or urgency spike, I gave a couple of examples, like someone else's over whatever melancholy will cause an energy spike, a joy spike. Well, I'm going to be overjoyed because you're over miserable. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
trigger awareness. Buffer questions. Before acting, ask, is this about them or me?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Hmm.
That's probably been the most helpful for, is this about them or me?
Hmm.
Because if we're there for them, it really isn't about me.
Right.
And then feedback loops, creating safe spaces for others to tell when we're overplaying. And then the energy dial. I love this one. You've seen me do it several times. Visualize your energy on a scale of 1 to 10, and then choose the setting intentionally.
Mhm.
I think I put that in here. Um, on page, I think it's the back page, your energy scale for key situations.
Yeah. Energy scale for key
And
situations.
being intentional about thinking about a situation and what the energy level would need to be. Both
Uh-huh.
maybe going into the situation. I kind of think about this in beginning, middle, and end,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we would like for there to be balance, for them to be meeting us at that place that's the most productive and beneficial for them.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. So look at so the energy dial, right? Visualize your energy or intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. Choose the appropriate level before interacting in various contexts. So this is the interesting one, because the energy, if we're talking about energy specifically, I feel like that's just in relation, it's just in relation to my second one, the intensity or energy. But if I was to be focusing on the adaptability one, it's something different than an energy dial for me. It's the adaptability dial, right? Or
Yeah.
it's like my other one, turning vision into action, like solving problems. It would be the problem solving dial, which, right,
Mm-hmm.
which dial. And oh yeah, it's right. No wonder self-awareness is level one of the five
Yeah.
parts of emotional intelligence, because this person that I was with just sometime within the last week, who came in with so much energy. And it's interesting. I can name the few people in town who do this to me, or I allow myself to have this experience when they're there. I almost like am deer in the headlights, lose myself. I stay answering their questions. They're just driving it so hard that I'm right there, and afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could just in the moment be like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay, chill out. It's okay. You don't have to be matching their energy. I can just
Mhm.
be, I can show up however I want right now. So that would be more, I think, with particular high intensity people, which is interesting because I relate to being a high intensity people. I just kind of hope that I'm not that kind that doesn't read the room, which I think I'm not. I think I have the reading the room almost even too much. So at times. So what am I really saying? That I think what will help me the most is this adaptability one. How I need to read when to be adaptable and when to not, because like, you and I have talked about when creating a program ahead of time, we'll have it really mapped out. Here's the exact agenda. But when we get in the room, I like to say that, but that's when we're super flexible depending on the needs of the group.
Mhm.
I need to be careful to be not be too flexible.
Yeah,
That's
that's a great point. That's a great point. There are a couple of I think Harvard Business Review, stop overdoing your strengths, says taken too far, your strengths can become weaknesses. For instance, quick-wittedness can turn into impatience with others. It's kind of harsh, but it's kind of true, isn't
that's a
it?
good one. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Or overdue forcefulness, and your team's productivity may improve, but its morale will weaken, eventually undercutting productivity. And overdue census building and engagement may rise, but productivity might ultimately suffer, eventually eroding morale. And I've actually seen that in in the workplace, especially working with large groups.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes because you're not hands on with every individual, like the morale, I'm going to way overstate this, but the morale cancer kind of grows kind of without really knowing it. You know
Oh
this, and
yeah.
then before you know it, you've got a real problem. So
What was
um
it? HBR, what was that article again?
this was Harvard Business Review, stop overdoing your strengths.
Thanks. Great.
Okay, we are almost at time, aren't we?
We sure are.
So just recap, strengths are double-edged swords. So what's one sentence that could describe, especially with what we've talked about in agility, was the one we focused on, that could describe a new approach for you?
Hmm. One sentence that could describe a new approach for me. It sounds so funny because I feel like many people work on the opposite, but stop being so flexible.
That's good.
But we're only talking this like 20% of the time, so we have to remember that, like, yeah, based on others. I should say it based on others because this is really a peopling thing. It's not
Yeah.
for me based on other things. Stop being so flexible based on others. And stop meaning making at times. At times.
Yeah,
A lot of the times it's a good plan, but yeah.
that's good. That's good. Okay, that's pretty much what we have. I was going to encourage you to journal 2 to 3 short observations each day about how your superpower was affecting others, or your
Oh, you are
superpower.
awesome. You're awesome. Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to stop this recording, but let's stay here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.